Doing it this way. I like this new. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the Buckeye Remix. I'm Jeff, and that's Mo. This is the Buckeye Remix, and we got a lot of stuff to figure out tonight. So the Buckeyes, we're going to talk about how the Buckeyes lost to Iowa 54-10. That's what Mo wants to tell you about.
That's what you would think.
We'll be back with the remix. All right, everybody. The most important thing, it's another victory week. So here at the remix. So that's the thing is like Ohio State took care of business ish. Beat Iowa 54-10. I know we're gonna talk about what a terrible victory it was here in a minute. But more importantly, Ohio State is 7-0 going into Penn State, and that's what's great. So I got Mo Murphy from Up in Flames, avid Buckeye fan here. Try to talk me off a ledge tonight, and we're gonna figure some things out. So Mo, how are you doing?
I'm good. I mean, you would think we lost 54-10. The way you and some other Buckeyes fans are acting, like you would think we lost 54-10 or escaped out of there with a 14-10 victory. Like I would have thought we scored 14 points. The way some people are upset about Ohio State right now.
It is crazy, and I always open things up with like full disclosure. When I watch an Ohio State game, I take like the best of the best. I judge them like I take like whatever we'll say the top 10 teams in the country. And as I'm watching the game, I'm like, how many of these teams would Ohio State beat today? Like at this moment, like how many teams would Ohio State beat today? And I got to watch a lot of football on Saturday, and I'm just saying like it wasn't the Buckeyes' best moment. And what I said going into the game, and I said this on Twitter, I said it out loud. Anybody that would, could hear me. I said, the Buckeyes are healthy. The Buckeyes are at home. It's 70 degrees and sun shining in Columbus, and they're playing an Iowa team that is dreadful. Like, I know they want to spin it a certain way that Iowa is like I told you, like they're the 75 Steelers. They're not. Iowa's a bad football team. I didn't want the Buckeyes to have a clunker. I didn't want them to have a slow start. None of that. There was no excuses. And turns out for the first 35 minutes of the game, honestly, Ohio State kind of got beat up. They couldn't get things going. And then, the truth is, we'll put this under knee jerks. And then the truth is, after that, they also had 15 minutes of awesome football that changed the game, which is fine. But that's how the game went. Like, for 10 offensive drives, Ohio State lost the game, like didn't play very good. And then things went their way. And for 4 drives in a row, they were unstoppable and they crushed Iowa. So that's what happened. And it's not that I'm so much as saying like, oh, it was a terrible day, but I just sit there and think, I always do this. If that wasn't Iowa and it was Alabama, would they have won Saturday? And I don't think so. If it was Tennessee, would they have won? I don't think so. If it was Michigan and I'm not sure. So therefore, that's how I grade them, and I'm not sure. I don't think that the Buckeyes had a great Saturday. Mo, you're here to tell me why I'm insane.
I'm not going to say we played great. We didn't play for 60 minutes. We did not play great for 60 minutes. We still walked away with a 54-10 victory. Again, like, at the end of the day, like that, like if you didn't watch the game, Ohio State handled business and beat them even worse than they thought. It was 30 point. We won by 44. I don't really care about the betting, but some people do value how good of a team you are. Good teams win, great teams cover, right? Like that's a saying in the betting world for that reason. So to put into some perspective on how this weekend went,
I could use some perspective right now.
We're going to move away from Ohio State for a second.
Okay.
Tennessee wins 65-24. They give up 24 points to UT Martin, and you're mad about Ohio State. Clemson benches their quarterback and needs help from the refs to beat Syracuse. But you're mad about winning 54-10 for
no, wait, real quick. I do think that Ohio State had a better day than Clemson. And on my college football show, I will talk about that. But I would agree that Clemson didn't have a great day.
UCLA loses and gets absolutely dominated by Oregon. Ole Miss gets dominated by LSU. Alabama wins 30-6 with less than 300 yards of offense. All I'm saying is all of that happened on the same Saturday that we are upset about a 35 minutes of football from Ohio State. I'm just saying, when we're talking about yet on that Saturday, would we have beat all these teams? I mean, if Tennessee Martin can score 24 on a Tennessee defense, I could only imagine what we would do. All of that reverts to Ohio State of nobody really looked that great on a Saturday, depending on, I mean.
I think Tennessee, though.
The best team.
Like, I know, but wasn't Tennessee, it wasn't at like 52-7 at half or something like that.
I mean, yes, it
was.
That
might be a stretch. I'll give you Clemson. Clemson,
like, UCLA,
Clemson took a step back. UCLA lost.
Murdered. Yeah. Miss gets murdered. Like, so Fair. It's one of those when we're measuring Ohio State's game and we're picking it apart and we're like, how would we fare against teams? Like,
yes,
Alabama didn't get 300 yards of offense. Yes, they won 36, but they didn't even get 300 yards of offense. So, like, if I'm going to pick Ohio State apart, which you're about to do, I would pick every other team apart too. And, like, if you're why we don't look like national champions yet, but, like, every other team has those same questions or even more question marks, and we walk away. That's how spoiled we are, Jeff. We're not satisfied.
And I agree. I like how you say that, and I always tell everybody that they're like the yeah but argument. Everybody wants to be like, yeah, but Michigan only beat Iowa by this, and then everything you just said. And here's what I tell everybody: I understand. I don't watch the Alabama game 8 times and pick it apart like I do Ohio State. That's why I do an Ohio State podcast. And I essentially am judging Ohio State based on like 2019 LSU. Like, I'm like, I want to be the best possible team that we can be. And I think that Saturday, Ohio State was 80% of the team that they can be now. And I've also said, Mo, that will beat almost every team. And in great conditions, if you can get us into a dome, if we get to the Big Ten championship, like whoever that poor team is on the other side of the line it's going to be
a rematch against Michigan. I feel bad for whoever.
No, they can't. It can't be. It can't be.
What I'm saying, since it's not like a repeat back to back against Michigan. Yeah. We're gonna kill whoever it is, and it's not Penn State. Like, who in the Big Ten are we even worried about? We know this comes down to the game versus Michigan and Ohio State.
But I also say that I still see the chinks in the armor with this team. And I keep saying, if the weather holds out and it's going to be sunny and dry, I'm not even worried. I'm not even worried about it, because the positives, I will say, when Stroud is loose and in the flow of the game, he throws. He might be the best passer in college football. So like I understand that once all that gets going, but I also see I still have concerns. Like, here's the thing. Let's start with the CJ Stroud conversation. Is I still have concerns of his default is always put the ball in the air. And anybody that watched that game realizes that Iowa could have had, I don't know, 4 interceptions that day.
Mm-hmm.
It's his default is to put the ball in the air, and that it's just something like, I don't know how you cure it. I don't know how you stop it. He's very fortunate that he doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, but it's always just like, when shit breaks down, like, just throw the ball like this. Sometimes just take a sack. I mean, I've given in. CJ's not going to run the ball. Like, I'm just done with it. Like, he's just not going to run the ball. All the RPOs, he's never going to keep it. All these things, that's fine. I've given up on that. I'm off that. But like, you can't just constantly put the ball in the air, like, when you're rushed out of the pocket or when things kind of break down. And so that's like something I see that, is a weakness. I mean, it just is like a team that, if I'm Michigan, if I'm Alabama, if I'm one of these teams that's really concerned about Ohio State, what I'm saying is we got to pressure Stroud. and we got to sit our guys back in zone, and we got to have them play center field, and we got to wait for the ball to be in the air, and then we got to take advantage of it. So, that's a concern I have. So, like, how do you feel? Like CJ didn't, like, you talk about it all the time. Like you talked about it, his couple games ago when we were on here, like how bad he played. He played a terrible game, and then he went on a hot streak that I won't argue was amazing, that most people in the country can't do. But the fact of the matter is, Iowa couldn't score, so it didn't matter, but
Yeah.
he didn't have to dig himself out of a hole. So, like, there's still room for growth for CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I mean, so essentially everything you just said was 100% correct. But that my only pushback, and it's not pushback, because
I need some pushback. I need you to tell me why I'm crazy.
Everything you said is 100% correct, except for 11 weeks out the season, he can do that. When Michigan, Big Ten championship, and possibly 2 playoff games, we're looking at trying to win a national championship. So for 4 weeks, he can't, he has to follow your formula of you can't keep putting it in the air. But for probably the next, until we play Michigan, he can, just because we're that much better than pretty much everybody we play. Yeah. I get it. We can say we have a weak schedule. The Big Ten's down this year, whatever. We knew this season was going to matter. Maybe Penn State, and then it was going to be the showdown between Ohio State and Michigan. So I don't really care. We know there was 1, maybe 2 games that was looked at on the schedule that was very important for us. So you're right. It's crazy, though, because remember, I tagged you in this video. It was from last week. It was a remembrance of CJ Stroud's first touchdown as a Buckeye. It was an RPO 45-yard touchdown run down the sideline. What happened? Like, I do want to know, like, that was your first play, your first snap as a Buckeye, and your first touchdown was a 45-yard run, and you go, like, so you showed us you're capable. I get it. Michigan State's defense.
He's very athletic.
He wasn't slow. Like, it's not like he's Lamar Jackson or nothing, but he's a guy, he's the Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence. Like, he's not that fast, but he knows how to run the ball. Like, he's not the fastest, but he can make plays with his legs. He can extend plays. But we watch him go to extend plays, and running is never an option. It does get frustrating sometimes, because it's like, take the 7 yards and run out of bounds. Like, you're already running towards the sideline anyway. It's clear as day. And instead you're like showing off your Lamborghini and your Bentley in your driveway by throwing to Marvin Harrison Jr. and Smith Najigba and Emeka Ibuka. Like, no, just take the simple car ride to work. Like, just take the 7 yards, and you don't have to show up. We know you have elite weapons. You don't always have to show it off. Like, save that for the big games, but take the yards here, take the yards there. We'd have a lot more first downs. Obviously, that's picking Stroud apart, but it is one of those, like, when you're not able, there's going to be a defense that whole thing is to take away those kind of throws. And it's going to be tough, because a bad throw can be caught by a great wide receiver. We know that because we have them. But at the same time, like, there's going to be a team where you match up where you just don't out-talent them 54-10, and every play is going to matter, and you not taking those 7 yards could be the difference between winning or losing. And I know, like, you're like, against Iowa, it doesn't matter. You can do that. You could just throw more, and that's a recipe for success, because we know we'll just out-athlete them, we'll out-talent them. But come Michigan, Bama, Georgia, maybe Clemson, Oregon, like the top 10 teams, you might not just be so much superior talented that no matter how bad you play for 35 minutes, the final result is going to be 54-10. And that's where guys, I critique them too, just not as hard, but that's where people like you're coming from. It's like, I don't care about winning 54-10 to Iowa. I'm measuring how we look against Bama today, or Michigan, or Georgia, or whoever it may be. But yeah, there does come a point in time where you just got to take what the defense gives you. Like, as a quarterback, you got to do it. You're not Tom Brady immobile in the pocket. Like, you can move, you extend plays with your legs. Take the 7 yards. Like, take what the defense gives you. Set us up for a 2nd and 3 with the 2 running backs that you have in the backfield. Don't try and make that's exactly. Like, we have running backs that'll get you those 3 yards. Set them up that way, though. Don't throw it on first down, incomplete because you try and force it. Now we're at 2nd and 10. Now it's predictable. We're probably not running the ball. And if we do, and they only get 3 yards, it's 3rd and 7. We're throwing the ball. We are not handing it off on our 35 on a 3rd and 7. We're trying to get the first down. So sometimes it makes the Ohio State's offense predictable, because they don't have to. Linebackers and corners don't even have to catch themselves looking in the backfield thinking that the quarterback might run, so they don't get lost in coverage a lot. We just have great wide receivers who's going to make great catches. That's the one plus that we have on the way we play offenses. But you never get DBs or anything looking in the backfield respecting the run, so it's kind of easy for them to cover when you are as talented, when your defensive players can keep up with the talent of Ohio State's offense, which we will get to later on down the season in Michigan and all that, then it makes it a tougher game than need to be. And I think we could blow a lot of teams out if we just take what the defense gives us sometimes, and that's on Stroud more than anybody.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. You said everything you just said, summed a lot of it up. And that's my whole problem. Like, another one of my nitpicks is the running game has taken a step back, but it's for every reason you said, because instead of 2nd and 5, instead of 3rd and 3, it's 2nd and 10 or 3rd and 10, which is fine. Just like you said, most of the time we can get out of it because of how talented the wide receiving group is. But now you've taken the running game out of it. So like, there doesn't seem to be a blend right now in the running game and passing game. I honestly thought Saturday was the worst running game that we've seen all year. It was almost like, okay, if we have to, like, it really, like, and this is a day thing. This isn't a Stroud thing. This isn't, a running back thing. This is a day offense thing, to where, the running game, the calls, the blend just isn't there. There's no flow. And Iowa was never worried about the rushing attack of Ohio State. Henderson is what Henderson is at this point. Like, I'm already moved on to, like, I think Henderson will be a really good running back next year, but he's at this moment, he's just not the guy that, like, another team is scared of. You know what I mean? Like, nobody has their eye in the backfield when he's back there. Mayan Williams is, we've praised him all season. They're very good running backs, but defenses aren't constantly peeking in the backfield of like, oh, this guy's going to break it. We don't involve him in the passing game enough, but a lot of it's for every reason that you just said, because we're always into, long yardage. We have so many good receivers. Actually, I know, not to toot my horn, but I kind of predicted this, that Egbuka is going to be a bigger part of the running game, which when he was there and they moved him into the backfield Saturday, I was like, that really kind of changed things up, and really looked great. He got some easy yards, but also, you got the passing game. Like, I think that's the future. So, this team has become kind of one-dimensional. And it's a great dimension. That's, I want to say that too. Like, their passing attack is awesome. Like, it really is. Fleming is better than I thought it would be. Harrison is as good as anybody thought it would be, which is awesome. Jackson Smith, I think we're kind of past that. Like, we can have this conversation, but I don't know that we're going to see him play this year or really make an impact this year. Sometimes bad things just happen, but as far as, like, when it's wide open and they're just throwing the ball, yeah, I love it. Everybody can go back to the Rose Bowl last year. Like, that team still exists, but there's still this world where I think if it's 45 degrees and raining, that this offense is going to struggle.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just when you're one-dimensional but so elite, like, there's two teams that are just so elite, and it's us and Tennessee with passing the ball. It's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like, let's not try and force the run. You start evaluating teams and you're like, who has the passing, like, who's elite passing defense that we have moving forward that's going to be able to stop it? Like, you're going to have to make us run the ball, I think, is more the mantra we're playing offensively, is like, we don't need to run the ball. Make us run the ball, or else we're just going to throw it. We're just going to air raid all day, and then we'll give an occasional reverse to Ibuka and let him go for 12, 15, 20 yards because of his athleticism and the way, a reverse. But I still think with the run game, it comes down to a aspect that we saw with Dwayne Haskins as well. When Dwayne Haskins was the quarterback, he was a more willing runner than CJ Stroud, but he still wasn't a runner. So when you run the RPO, if you're giving it to the running back, like, all I have to do is commit to the run from the running back or the play action, and I commit to stopping the wide receivers. There is no, I caught myself looking to see if the quarterback kept it to run. If he keeps it, that's what my DBs and safeties, that's what we run a nickel defense for is because if he keeps it, he can throw it all over the field. But you got to add, because Stroud can run, you got to add that in at some point. And I'm not saying he's got to go out there and run and slide. That's okay. Like, you don't have to be Lamar Jackson and shake everybody out their shoes and get hit one too many times. I don't want to see my quarterback do that. But what I do want to see is my quarterback on a 1st and 10, dropping back to pass, rolling out. Marvin Harrison Jr. is double covered, but instead of throwing him a jump ball, knowing that he'll probably make the play, take the 7 yards. Let's go 2nd and 3. Hand the ball off to Mayan Williams. Hand the ball off to Travion Henderson. Get in a flow of an offense where you can get the running backs going, because we're not doing that. And so when you are handing them the ball, it's a predictable situation. Like 1st and 10, we're not surprised if you run the ball, but you're not running on 2nd and 8 and 3rd and 7. So you always give them, we never are in enough spaces where it is 2nd and 3 and like, oh, they could run the ball. They could try and take the top off the defense right here. And they're in a position where if we play action, try and take the top off of defense, still 3rd and 3, we can hand it to the running backs. Like, it always has that effect of, are they running? Are they passing? But we find ourselves, if we don't get big first downs, we find ourselves in predictable. It's easy for a defensive coordinator to make some play calls, I think. And eventually you're going to run into a defensive coordinator who knows he has the talent to make 1 or 2 stops. And there could be a time where the offense is good enough. We'll say Tennessee, for example, 1 or 2 stops will be the difference in winning and losing when 2 high-powered offenses play. So a defensive coordinator, sometimes I think if they wish they had the talent that we had even on the defensive side of the ball, because they'd be licking their chops saying, if I had those guys over there on that defense, I'd be able to prepare. They too predictable, and I'd be able to stop them. So it's a talent thing right now, and so we're good for now. But there's going to be a point in time where we're probably the most talented team top to bottom, offensively and defensively, but you're going to come where somebody's close. And I think that game is Michigan. Only thing I love about it is it's at home. So I feel a little more comfortable about it.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. And, you already brought it up. One of my notes this week was like, we've basically become an air raid offense. Like that's what we are now. Mm-hmm. And again, I told everybody after the Iowa game, I was settled in. This is the team we have. Everything from here on out, it's like, you just got to win and just keep moving on to the next level. We're not going to evolve. Like you said, Stroud's not going to start running the ball. The running game has taken a step back. It is what it is. I'm sure, like against Maryland or whatever, like it's going to be fine. But like as far as like what we're going to lean on, it's not going to be the running game. It's good. Like we also have 4. Honestly, we have 4 NFL wide receivers out there running around. So. I'm not going to complain about that either. So I've just settled into like, this is what we have now. We have an air raid offense. If we can get to a dome, if we can keep it in nice weather, I like our chances versus anybody. That kind of concerns me. So on the positive side, let's talk about the defense a little bit. I know we're picking apart this offense. Everybody keeps saying it's the best in the country, but my whole point was for 9 drives, they weren't. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like that's just the truth of it. Like they weren't very good for 9 drives versus Iowa. And then, then they were perfect for 4 drives. So everything kind of evens out. You already said it. You might run up against a team that doesn't give you that option. If Iowa could have scored any points, that would have been an entirely different game Saturday, but they didn't. It's spilled milk at this point. So let's talk a little about the defense Saturday. By far their best performance, probably since 2019, the Chase Young year. Have they looked that good on defense? They did. Here's what I'd say about the defense. They did literally everything that you would expect them to do against a terrible offense Saturday, and they looked awesome. They did their part. Literally, there's really nothing to nitpick. We'll talk about it when we talk about grades, but they were really good. So what did you think about the overall defensive performance Saturday?
They played great. And here's what bothers me is the but for the expectation from anybody else. Yeah, but it was Iowa. Okay. My question is, and it puzzles everybody, how do you evaluate a great defense? When they play a bad offense, they make them look like a bad offense. That is exactly what Ohio State did. 4 interceptions, 2 or 3 fumbles. I think we had 6 or 7 turnovers.
I think it was 6, at least 6 turnovers.
It was 6. It could have been 7. I think we might have a third fumble, but we had 4 interceptions. Yes, you'd be like, well, they did what they're supposed to do against Iowa. But then I'll be like, well, tell me they did what they're supposed to do, as in what? A great defense did what they were supposed to do against a horrendous offense. Oh, well, they scored 10 points. No, their offense scored 3 points. We gave them a touchdown.
Yeah.
A defensive touchdown. Their offense scored 3 points. They had less than 100 yards passing, less than 100 yards rushing, less than 200 yards of total offense. Great defenses will make a bad offense look bad. And so that was the expectation. I said on Field Stormers with Walker coming into this game, I said, I don't care about Ohio State's offense for this game. What I'm looking at is we're playing a horrendous offense defensively. Is our defense going to make them look bad? If they score 21 points and multiple touchdowns, then I would do if Iowa was able to march down the field consistently on us, what would Tennessee do? That's how I would measure it. And so, okay, they're a terrible offense. We kept the streak of making them look terrible. That's what great defenses do. You're not going to play the number 1 through 10 or the top 12 offenses every year in college football. You're just not going to schedule yourself that way in the first place. So when you're a great defense, great teams make bad teams look bad. That's what you're supposed to do. That's how you can evaluate whether a team is good. Well, how am I supposed to get a real evaluation? They didn't play anybody. Well, they made the nobody look like a nobody. So that was what I wanted to see from the defense, and they answered the call. I mean, you could nitpick and say they gave up a couple first downs, but that's like, who cares? Like, eventually when you play that great defensively, you're going to fall asleep eventually. Like, I'm going to give up the play.
I don't like, I'm totally with you here. Like, I know everybody listening to this, they're like, okay, well, here comes Jeff. I have nothing. Here's what they did. They got 6 turnovers, and then they also got 5 punts. That's 11 drives that amounted to nothing. The third downs conversion for Iowa was 1 for 13. So like Iowa only converted and 1 for 4 on 4th down. So they basically kept the sticks moving 2 out of 17 times. It was complete domination. They scored a touchdown. There was no, and I completely understand. Mo already said it. I know how bad Iowa's offense is, but that's the whole point, because there's been years to where bad offenses have played the Buckeyes the last 2 or 3 years, and we've made them look like good offenses. This was not the case. This defense had a lot of fun. They took advantage of the situation. Iowa could get nothing going. And even me, once Ohio State got up, once they got up like 8 or 9 points, I was like, yeah, this game's over, because Iowa's not going to outscore. I don't know what they would have had to do, some kind of trick play or something, but complete domination by the defense. I'm not going to go so far. I don't know how it translates, but you said it best. They did exactly what they should have done against a terrible offense. I was really happy for him. Eichenberg,
he got in the end zone, baby.
Yeah, he got in the end zone. He looks good. Chambers, McAllister is my dude. Like, McAllister is what makes this defense go.
Can I ask you something, Jeff?
Yeah, let's do it.
Still Chambers, an NFL linebacker?
No.
I don't think so either, but it's great to see.
He's barely a college linebacker.
It's great to see that he was able to translate over from running back to linebacker and make himself even a playable player. Like,
absolutely
lost in the running back room. He's like, all right, I'm gonna give a shot at linebacker, and he's a starting linebacker making some plays. So
if you tell me 3 years from now he's on a roster and playing special teams for the New Orleans Saints, I would believe you. Is he a starting NFL linebacker? No, he's barely a starting. I don't think so. But that's not but you don't have to be like this, because they're not playing the NFL. He's done a great job of translating the linebacker. They don't have a lot of depth there. Safety, they're loaded. That safety position are loaded. A linebacker, they're not. So I was really impressed with them. They really, when I go back and watch the games, like what this Knowles defense does, it isn't really about it's not as much about where the ball is. It's about they determine where they determine the play and they confuse the quarterback and they all the whole like disguise and coverages. That's where they excel, which when you're watching on TV, you can't catch a ton of that because just camera angles and all that. But what they're doing as far as confusing the offense is great. Quarterbacks to this date, a quarterback has not figured this defense out yet. Have they played a good quarterback? Actually, they haven't. The kid from Toledo is still the best quarterback that we've seen. But the fact of the matter is, we've seen years to where quarterbacks like Petrus would have put 21 points on the Buckeyes, and we would have all been sitting here, mad as hell, on Monday. So they're really doing their job very well. They got a bite to them that I like. They got that I don't think the offense has yet. That's another one of my on my list of nitpicks. I don't think this offense has the killer instinct that the defense does. I think they're still a little like we're better than the other team. We don't need a lot of contact, blah blah blah. And probably one of my favorite things about Saturday was Stroud. He gave up the touchdown. He got tacked. He got the fumble, gave up the touchdown. He got beat up a little bit, and there was a moment to where it felt like that offense got pushed around enough to where then they started fighting back, and then they kind of got in gear and they kind of got angry, and they played great. We got to figure out a way to get that in the first quarter.
Yeah, I agree, and it seems like with the offense, it's just like we know how great we are.
Yeah.
We know on our best day how great we will be. And at the end of the day, they know like, lackluster in the first half. Yeah, let's just go out and make a couple big plays, go up 30 and go back in cruise control. So at times that can be detrimental because there's a team who's good enough. Outside of Michigan, I don't think there's a team good enough on the schedule that could beat us and match us talent for talent.
No.
But if there's a team good enough that if they punch you in the mouth and force you to respond and you don't respond right away, they can hang around a lot longer than they should have. Yeah. And then on the road, let's say a Penn State punches you in the mouth, hangs around a lot longer. Now they're like, we can win this game. And that's when you get in those like, all right, like y'all better get some grit about yourselves and stop thinking because, you're one of the best wide receivers in the country because you got Ohio State across your chest that you're going to go in and just dominate. Like the people are smelling blood when they play you. Like you're going to get most teams' best game. No matter how bad the team is, you're going to get most teams' best game because you're Ohio State. That's just how it is in the Big Ten. So, but I think it's just one of those like, I think when we play a team, I think everybody's low key looking ahead to this Michigan game.
Oh, 100%. It's two locomotives.
And I've been believing that like, and sometimes you're like, that could be detrimental, but you're looking at the schedule and you're like, if once we make it past the Penn State game, we're like, there's not a team that can play with us until we play Michigan. And I think we've been looking at that. I think we'll come out with fire against Penn State, get the game over with, to be honest, and then keep looking ahead to Michigan because there's just not a team talented enough in the Big Ten left on our schedule to say, oh, well, this is a look ahead game. This is a trap spot. Like, yeah, Iowa had an opportunity to trap us and we still win 54-10. Like they did everything they could do in the first half to trap us and we still
lost by 44.
Yeah. So I don't think they're worried about look ahead games at this point.
And that's what I say. Like, I take a lot of heat for, online for my takes and everything. And I will open up with this. If you're satisfied with Ohio State losing one game and winning a Rose Bowl and all that, great. This is great. Like you're going to be satisfied. I'm not. Like I want to, like this team needs to win a national championship, or I won't say it's not a failure, but like they can't. I'll put it this way: they can win a national championship. If they don't, I will personally be disappointed.
It's not super bust. That was the expectation
to me. That's what I said. So if you're a fan and you're telling me like you're crazy and all these points, yes, I know this team. This team at worst has one loss on their schedule. Like at the end of the year, this Ohio State team, whatever happens, whether it's in the playoffs or whether it's in a bowl game or whether it's Michigan or whatever, is going to have one loss. And going into next year, you're going to look back and be like, great team. They went whatever and won. If you're good with that, then fine. Like, we're not having the same conversation. My
It's true.
conversation is, if they don't win a national championship, it wasn't a success, and we wasted a roster that was capable of it. So that's just where I'm coming from. Like, I don't know how to tell people, like, I don't know how to argue. I don't argue with people, but I'm like, great. Like, I'm glad I hope you have a great season and are cool. Like, those years that, like, there was a couple years we lost to Iowa one year, finished, with a great season, lost to Purdue, got upset by Purdue one year, lost one game, a great season. Looking back, yeah, that was awesome. That's not enough this year. It just is not enough. So that's why I grade this team so hard, because, like, this is it. You have the quarterback, you have the defense, you have, I always said last year, what did we say, Mo? If the defense is just a little better, we're fine.
And we just needed them to be a little better.
A little better. They're a lot better
this year. The defense is elite this year. Like, it's not.
We've got a third-year great quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks that's ever. He's probably going to go down as, I don't know. It'll be hard to pass up a guy like JT, but, like, he's
like a 4-year starter.
Yeah, but JT was just a dog. But here's the thing, though. Like, this is a type of team, like, you know what? I got a follow-up question before we get to grades. I'm glad that I accidentally brought this up, and I keep saying this. What would JT Barrett's team look like in this, coached under Ryan Day? I think, me personally, I think it would have been awesome.
Like JT Barrett on this team?
Yeah, JT Barrett, but under Ryan Day with this offense instead of the Urban Meyer offense, which he succeeded in, had 100 touchdowns, one of the greatest players in college football history. I think in Ryan Day's offense, he's more of a passer, and he lights up the Big Ten. Like, I think at some point we have to have the conversation about, like, Ryan Day's offense is a lot of this. Like, if it's Baylor, if it's Oklahoma, we're always like, it's a system. It's a system. Like, Stroud's great, but if Hendon Hooker's playing for Ohio State, like, I think we're in the same position we are right now. If JT Barrett's playing, if Bryce Young plays for Ryan Day, I don't see any drop off. So, like, I think that's a conversation to be had, though.
Yeah, I think if I look at JT Barrett being the quarterback right now, his threat of the legs adds a whole, like, he adds a dynamic of the offense that I'm not saying CJ Stroud doesn't add. He doesn't add it because he doesn't do it. He's capable of it, and we would love to see it. But JT Barrett in an RPO with these elite receivers, and knowing there would be a lot of plays where what I said, where the DBs are looking in the backfield because the quarterback might keep it, and the quarterback could kill me for 20, 30 yards running the ball. And that's when Harrison Jr. is wide open over the top. Even when JT Barrett was the quarterback under Urban Meyer's system, like, there were a lot of times we were able to take the top off of the defense because DBs, safeties, they don't blitz, but they catch themselves peeping in the backfield. And all you needed was that half second for them peeping in the backfield for them to just blow off the top of the defense. So I think with JT Barrett, like, I think this would be the same offense and the same expectation. Does Stroud have, to me, a better arm?
Oh,
yes. Yeah. Like, does he make better throws? Yes. But I mean, JT Barrett was an elite college quarterback. We just knew we weren't watching an NFL quarterback. Like, as elite as he was, his numbers were great. We knew, like, this guy is at best your third string backup QB who a lot of injuries happen. He gets an opportunity. But other than that, we'll see him in preseason, and that's about it. He's on your practice squad. He's a guy you keep around, and that's kind of what his career was, his short-lived career, essentially. But yeah, I think this offense would be the same, probably a little bit more, it'd be more dynamic. I'm not saying numbers-wise it'd be higher, but it'd be more dynamic just for the simple fact that when I run an RPO, there's three different things. I could keep it, my running back can run, or I could throw it. That adds a whole nother dynamic that defenses have to account for. And I think with as much talent as this offense is, like, as talented as this offense is, it'd be tough to have to add. If you add another dynamic to this offense, it'd be scary because it's like, man, we already got to account for the elite wide receivers in the run game and to the two very good running backs. Now I got to account for a quarterback who can run for 100 yards on me and 2 touchdowns. Like, that would give defensive coordinators nightmares.
Yeah. That's all I'm saying. Like, what we see Stroud doing is amazing. And when and the throws he makes and everything, but I'm also saying he's not irreplaceable. And you got to have an honest conversation about this offense would work with a lot of people. I, I think there's room to grow for this offense, but I think this is what we get. I think we're just kind of settled in now to like this is what we're going to get, and that's fine as long as they keep winning. It's cool. So we'll do our team grades here. I know I did all I could do to tell you how bad Ohio State was Saturday, but they were fine. They were fine Saturday. If you want to judge them, if you want to give Iowa as much credit as some people are, that's fine. Iowa's a terrible football team, like a terrible football team. They we talked about it before the show. They play defense really well, but they're not a good football team. They don't have good athletes. They don't have a bunch of NFL players. And for 35 minutes, they kind of beat Ohio State's offense up. That's all there is to it. So let's start off offensive grades. What'd you get the offense versus Iowa Saturday?
A C-. It would have been.
Damn, I thought I was going to grade them on. I was worried about saying it, but go ahead.
And to be honest, if it wasn't those 4 drives, they get like a D. But I'm going to give them credit for coming out in the second half and basically playing elite, for there being a spurt of 15 minutes of elite Ohio State offense, the best offense that we could give in that game. I'm going to give them a C-. But I mean, let's essentially, like, they were dreadful to Ohio State's offensive standards. Like, if there's one thing Ohio State has always had, it's a great offense, especially the past 10 to 15 years. Like, they have not been lacking offensively. So to put up 19 points, to finish drives with field goals, we had 4 field goals. I don't know the statistic. Didn't really care to look it up. I just know off of memory, when's the last time we had 4 field goals in a half that wasn't the second half in a blowout game, essentially, where we have 19 points. I mean, we've seen us have clunkers in the first half, but where we're not finishing drives. Like, if we have clunkers, it's just because we're not playing well. It's not we're marching down the field and not finishing. So, yeah, I give them a C-. I mean, it was a tale of 2 halves, but that first half was like, essentially, with who we have on offense as personnel, we're having arguably the best quarterback in the country, one of the top 10 running back duos as far as having them on your team, knowing what they can do. Obviously, probably having the best wide receiver room. It seems like it's not even close. And you put up 19 points and you're finishing drives with field goals. Like, I think the play calling was a little sketchy at first, but, they went and made adjustments. And we talked about the adjustment pre-show was just throw more, and that's, get CJ Stroud in the rhythm. But, yeah, I give them a C- because by no standard for 60 minutes was that offense great by any standard.
Yeah, I like it. I gave him. I just gave him a C for every reason that you just said. I mean, they only had 6. They just basically couldn't run the ball, which is really starting to upset me. A
dynamic got taken away. That's why I got to ding you. They took away.
Oh no, I'm with you. They had 4 good drives, but they were dreadful for 10 drives. Yeah, I gave him a C for every reason you just said. So how about defense? What'd you give the defense?
A+. I gave him an A+.
Gave him the plus.
I'm giving
him the plus.
We wanted to see go, and like I said, we've talked about it multiple times, but we wanted to see. Up to this point, numbers are telling me that this defense is really good. Yeah. We wanted to see how do you fare against a horrible offense, and you literally made them look horrible. That's what you're supposed to do if you're a great defense. And in a numbers perspective, they made Iowa look so bad. They jumped from the number 7 overall defense and total defense to number 2. Ohio State defensively now has the number 2 total defense in college football. They jumped 5 spots, which means you played a bad offense, but you don't jump 5 spots in total defense if you didn't play absolutely amazing, absolutely elite. Yeah. You don't jump 5 spots in 1 week, where we're talking about because of that performance, it jumped you to basically arguably the best defense in the country. So yes, for that, I did give them an A+. There was no dissatisfaction from any level, from D-line to linebacker to DBs. Eichenberg got a touchdown. We picked off the quarterback 4 times. We forced 2 fumbles. I don't even remember how many sacks we had. We got back there a lot. The quarterback pressures was almost 30. Like we almost pressured the quarterback 30 times. Had almost 10 sacks, if I'm not mistaken. Like it was close to that, I think 7 or 8. And you have 4 interceptions, and there's not a single player on defense that you looked at and be like, he could have played better. Like there's nobody I could call out at the top of my head. I couldn't call out a single player and be like, he just didn't play his best football today on the defensive side. So yeah, I gave him an A+.
I gave him an A, mainly because I was just so terrible that like an A-, but they did everything you just said. They were great. They did have another interference penalty that gave them a cheap first down, which I didn't like, but they really were. They were awesome. We talked about it. They didn't give up first downs. They turned the ball over. They tackled well. They forced punts, like just on and on and on. It was a great day. And again, this is the defense. That's all we asked for last year. Is like we just needed the defense to be a little bit better. They're a lot bit better. So
yeah, times they only crossed the 50 4 times.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, it was really a great performance. But I will say that they're so bad.
Yeah, they are, but that's what great defenses are supposed to do.
No, I agree. I just couldn't give them the plus.
3 points.
I just couldn't give them the plus. I'll save the plus for if they shut down a team that I don't know can score. I don't know what to say, but a great job by the defense. And I like the ferocity they played with. I like the intensity. I like the techniques. Everything they did was great. I was really impressed. So
they played like they had something to prove, and
they sure did.
That you thought like our defense came out and played a way where like they're playing like they have to prove how great they are.
Yeah.
When really you thought it would be the offense coming out like, we're going to show you how great our offense is because we're playing one of the top 10 defenses, top 10 ranked defenses in the country. So we're going to show you we'll pick them apart too. And instead, the defense and like Jim Knowles, his game plan was like, we're going to smack these boys in the mouth. Horrible offense. We got something to prove. Some people are doubting how good we are defensively, and they're going to expect Iowa to score 21 points on us. And so we're just going to hold them to 3 points on the offensive side of the ball. And then offense, hey, give them a touchdown just to stop the bleeding a little bit. Give them a touchdown early so they can get a little momentum, I guess.
Yeah, it was fun to see, and it's been a while since we've seen a performance quite that good. Even though I will say, like, the defenses of the last couple years, I mean, let's be honest here. They went to the playoffs two of the last 3 years. The defenses were better than people think they were. I understand how the numbers stack up last year, but the numbers weren't as bad as your eyeballs tell you. This defense, your eyeballs, they're a little better. They're a little better than even the numbers say. Like all the overall numbers and all that. Like you're playing a big with their schedule so far, like anybody's going to have a really good defense, but when you really watch them, they're actually better than what their numbers are. So, and one last grade, coaching. I'll go first.
Go ahead.
I gave him a C, and that's probably the only reason I gave him a C is because Jim Knowles, his side of it was awesome. But again, we had 2 weeks to get ready to play Iowa, and we got caught off guard. We got beat up for 35 minutes. We're still calling timeouts in the first quarter or the third quarter, whichever way you want to look at it. I believe it was the first quarter they called a timeout on, like a 3rd and short. And then they came out of the timeout and ran the ball for like 1 yard and didn't like things like this. Like Day has not figured out how to manage the game, and that concerns me a little bit. Some games he's better, some games he's not, but he really doesn't. I think he's still so involved with the offense and the offensive, the game plan and all that. He loses track of like game management to where like Urban Meyer was completely hands off of offense and defense and all that, but he really was like involved with like where you were at on the field, time of possession, all these little things. And I understand Day keeps coaching like with the cushion that his offense gives him. Like he knows like we're not going to lose this game, so I can call this timeout. If he would come out and tell me that, that's fine. But like if you keep doing that, when things do get close, you're going to panic. And I was a little concerned. I thought as far as coaching went, I didn't think the team was 100% prepared. I thought they played 80% of a game. and the timeouts were bad. The red zone play calling was iffy, but not horrible. But I just gave coaching a C. I thought they left some execution on the field.
So I'm gonna grade it two different ways.
Okay,
I'm giving Ryan Day a D plus.
that's fair.
I'm giving Knowles a A plus.
Okay, okay.
Defense, because like I said, it has the way the defense played. It's not like we played bad on both sides of the ball and struggled out the gate. No, our defense handled business.
Yeah.
You can tell, like, first off, you can tell the aura around the defense right now. Like, they believe in whatever Jim Knowles is selling. And you can tell, like, whatever he spewed in that locker room, whatever he used as bulletin board material over the past 2 weeks, it worked. Because, like I said, they came out playing like they had something to prove. Like, we got to prove to the rest of the country, this isn't last year's defense that you were complaining about. Some of the same players, and they just had some dog in them. And then, like you said, with Day, I mean, the first half was, it was horrible. Not running on 1st and 10 and throwing an incomplete pass. I mean, put yourself, now you're throwing on 2nd and 10, and then you're throwing on 3rd and 10 because it's 2 incomplete passes. It was one of the worst halves of football I've seen Ryan Day coach from an offensive standpoint, because when you look at offense, if they were just missing, like if CJ Stroud was just missing every throw, but it was a great play call, which you know how to cipher that, then you're like, okay, Stroud's just off today. But you're scratching your head at play calls. You're scratching your head at why did we call 2 timeouts in the first quarter? Like, why are we going into 5 minutes in the first quarter left and a whole second quarter and we got 1 timeout? Like, what has befuddled us? What has Iowa done to befuddle us to be out 2 timeouts early? Like, not running the ball consistently. That's play calling. Not even trying to test and see if the running works. So I just think Day really had one of his worst coaching outputs. But in saying that, still we won 54-10.
Yeah,
so like,
I know.
We can coach bad, win 54-10. We can nitpick them. But like you said, you do got to tighten those things up for if you do get put in a situation, you can't panic. Like, you got to play elite. So
yeah, I agree. That's what I say too. And we'll find out some more this weekend. You got Penn State coming up, who are a good team. They're going to test them. Penn State. Here's what this week.
Always a dog.
This week will do. Penn State will test the edges. Like Clifford will put it up for his wide receivers to one-on-one matchups on the outside. This is a game that I think McAllister. If you told me he has 3 interceptions, I would believe you. That's going to be the key to this game, because that's what they're going to do. If Penn State tries to, just come straight at them, come up the middle of the running attack, that's fine, but they're not going to win. They're definitely going to take shots on the edge. That's what Clifford does. They're going to try to get those matchups.
They're going to have to keep them honest. They're going to have to keep them honest.
Yes, exactly.
At all, because we're going to murder their offensive line. Like, our front 4-3, whatever you want to call them,
play great.
And Zach Harrison, that's one person. I got to give him his flowers.
Let's do it.
He played absolutely amazing. The past couple games, he has been playing absolutely amazing. And for the past three to 4 game stretch, he is looking like the player that we've expected him to be since he stepped foot at Ohio State. Eichenberg played absolutely amazing. Zach Harrison was the best player on defense on Saturday. Yes. And that's what you want. He was supposed to be the Messiah, the next defensive end to supersede Chase Young and the Bosa brothers. And the past 3 weeks, he's looked like that. But Saturday, he was the best player on the field, bar offense, defense for either team. So Zach Harrison deserves some love, because as Ohio State fans, I know you. We've been beating him up. I've talked to Jay too. We've been beating him up, waiting for him to turn into this guy. Does he have it in him? And for him to be, with all the talent on the field, mostly on Ohio State side, for him to have been the best player on the field on a Saturday, I love to see, and I hope it continues, because if he plays that way, the quarterbacks, and he's stuffing the run like that, we know what our defense looks like when we have an elite pass rusher and an elite run stopper coming off the edge. And if Zach Harrison continues that trend, he's going to give a lot of offensive lines hell. And having to account for Zach Harrison and Eichenberg is going to be a tough task for a lot of offensive coordinators over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was coming out of that game. I felt really good about what the front, like you said, if we're gonna call it the front three, we call it the front five, whatever you want to say. Like I really felt good about that, and I think going into Penn State, that's a key. It's a very similar team to Iowa, except Penn State's a lot better, but it's still kind of the same thing as far as like get the quarterback off his mark, get him running around, try to make him, get some mistakes out of it. And I think it bodes well. We'll learn a lot about Ohio State this weekend, because now we're past the, what can you do? We're past the experiments. We're past like all that. Now we're to like, you got a tough team. You're going on the road. What do you, because here's what I would say. If they don't go to Happy Valley and put away Penn State, you can't tell me that they're going to easily beat Tennessee or Alabama or any of these other contenders. So like, here's what I would say this weekend. If we said Alabama was going to Penn State, we would all be like, yeah, they're going to put them away. Like, it's not going to be a contest. Tennessee, put them away. It's not going to be a contest. So I expect Ohio State to go to Penn State. They need to put them away. We don't need to be having a conversation. I need to be coming here next week being like, I'm surprised at how easy that game was, because anything other than that, then like that just shows you where you're at.
Yeah, and it leaves some questions to be answered. And we are at a point in time where at the point in the season, 7 games in, you're 7-0. You really need to be coming into final form. Essentially, there's national championship contenders shouldn't have a lot of questions surrounding their team at this point. We should just progressively see like, yep, they're coming into end of season, bowl season form, and this is the product that you're about to get for the rest of the season. And so it's got to start with Penn State. I think the difference is, I think we know Penn State, they like to give us close games and dogfights, whether we're better than them or not. Being on the road against Penn State, I feel a lot better about how we will get up and get fired up for this game, because we still are in a hostile environment against a good team. I don't think they're great. I think Michigan exposed that, but this still is a good team who always plays you tough. But I think being on the road, and I'm glad we ain't got to deal with the whiteout. They might white it out, but it's 12 o'clock kickoff, nighttime game. So I think that works in our favor. But I think this should be a game you should easily get fired up going to Penn State in a sellout crowd, having to play a great football game. So if we come out lackadaisical, I'm going to be like, if you can't get up for this game, how am I supposed to expect you to get up for any other game? Like, you at least got to get pumped up and be like, we're going to put them away in the first half, because you can't look ahead to Michigan so much.
Exactly.
There's 4 more games until you play Michigan. This has to be your get up game where you're like, you know what, we handle business. Kyle McCord should be throwing passes midway through the third quarter, to be honest.
Agreed. All right, Mo, I appreciate you being on. That was a Buckeye remix. It was a fun week. It was tough to watch. There was a lot to critique, but we like to critique, 44-point victories. That's the best kind. I do feel good about him going into Penn State. I agree with everything you just said. Thanks for being on again. That's the Buckeye remix for this week, everybody. Check out Jeff Needs Sports, check out Up in Flames, check out Field Stormers, check out Off the Ball Network. Got a lot of stuff going on right now. Football season is in high speed, and we're trying to keep up with it. And we appreciate everybody that likes, shares, reviews, anything you can do. So that's it for me. That's it for Mo. We'll see you next week on the Buckeye Remix, and go Bucks.